I have a theory. A game theory. No, I'm not doing this. Okay. Anyways, real quick, I have a theory about how we might save the Aemeath in Wuthering Waves. But while I talk about that, enjoy my gameplay from the recent Wuthering Waves reset. With that being said, let's just get right into this. So to start off, Chisa is the key to saving Aemeath from the other side of the Strider Gate. No, I don't think that Chisa will end up soloing the Threnodian Outfit 1 like some people were joking about on social media, but that doesn't mean that she can't be the key component of the entire operation, ordeal, whatever you want to call it. So let's start off with this. The main goal right now, in my opinion, is not to defeat the Threnodian like we did with Leviathan. Outfit 1 is on a completely different scale from anything else we've encountered. To begin with, he's not even a Threnodian from Solaris. He's from space, you know? It's on a different scale. It's not something we can defeat, quote-unquote, because we can't even really kill Threnodians. We can only, like, seal them or put them away. So, defeating him is not the main thing we need to be worried about. The main goal right now is how do we save Aemeath? Especially if we're not allowed to open the Strider Gate, because so far everyone has been against doing that, other than Rover, and that's just because Rover wants to save Aemeath. That's why he wants to open it. This is where Chisa comes into play, but we gotta go back first. So during the Honami City incident, Chisa was able to survive that entire ordeal thanks to her Forte ability. Her ability allowed her to navigate through all the slices of time and space that were occurring on that in the scenario sphere due to the looping of the lament that happened. That's how she was able to teleport us close to the cafe when we first encountered her. You know, that cutscene where she charges at us and then just throws out a slice, and then we end up teleporting in a different spot? That's what she did. She sliced through time and space to teleport us as close as she could to the cafe. Void space is described by Aemeath in her quest to be a realm of time and space where it is distorted, which can be used to travel to different points in time. Does this sound familiar? The conditions of Honami City and the void space are described in very similar terms. This means that void space could be the perfect opportunity for Chisa's Forte to shine. Now, one of the major differences between the two is that void space is more complete, or much more of an area than what Honami City was. Honami City was more of a freak accident that it was turned into that scenario sphere, and because of that, that allowed Chisa to see through it, because she mentioned when she's explaining to Rover about her abilities that the connection between all the time and space of Honami City was weak enough to where she was able to cut through it and see the connections, the threads that was binding all of them together, allowing her to be able to navigate through this. So because of that, you could say, oh, well, void space is different. It's an actual, like, space complete. You know, it's not weak, it's not shoddily put together, it's an actual thing. So Chisa might not be able to see through it the way that she did in Honami. But Aemeath mentioned that during her 10 years of trying to travel back in time through void space, that she noticed it was starting to weaken and collapse in on itself from the edges, and that she was worrying that she was going to lose her opportunity to go back in time and do what she needed to do. This detail, I think, is important. She mentioned that it's weakening, it's getting weaker. For some reason, void space is getting smaller. Or not smaller, but just, you know, becoming more unstable. And that could be what allows Chisa the ability to navigate us through void space in order to find Aemeath. So with that knowledge, let's go ahead and assume that Chisa is able to navigate us through void space. How are we going to find Aemeath? Void space itself is still just time and space all distorted. Finding one person and all that can be really difficult, especially since we know already that multiple instances of a person can exist in void space at once. That's how the whole loop with Aemeath works, is that she's existing in multiple places at once. Rover is as well. We had that scene where Rover is pushing small Aemeath out of the water void space in front of the pool, you know, that area in front of their house. And that's when the past Rover grabs her out of the water and takes her out. So we know that multiple instances of a person can exist at once. So how do we find the right Aemeath? Well, we now have Aemeath's corpse. That sounds wrong to say. Her remaining exoswarm body, the soulless Aemeath. That's where that comes into play. When talking to Luke in the text messages at the end of Aemeath's story quest from the first half of 3.1, he says that the Aemeath, I'm going to go ahead and just call it the soulless Aemeath. The soulless Aemeath still contains a trace of her original frequency. That has to have huge ramifications in some way. We already saw that the soulless Aemeath was able to act in a way that resembled Aemeath when she tried to console Rover through his loss. So maybe through some tech from the Academy, or maybe Chisa's own forte, or maybe a resonator that hasn't been fully introduced yet, like Sigrika, Hayuki, or Denia. Maybe one of them has an ability that will allow us to track Aemeath using her original frequency that's still available to us from the soulless Aemeath. So that way we can have some kind of, you know, like compass or map in void space. So that way Chisa's not just randomly cutting us in and hoping we find Aemeath. Maybe with this, we'll be able to slowly track her down until we can find the Aemeath that just sacrificed herself. We still need to answer one major question, however. How do we even get into the void space? Because if we can't open the Strider Gate for any reason, how do we get there? Well, two possibilities exist here. The first could be entering void space from a way that we've already entered before. This can be from either going back to Honami City and entering through the rift and seeing if we end up in void space like Rover did. But then we have the issue of, well, Chisa didn't do that. Chisa went straight through. Okay, well, three possibilities actually, my bad. We can also maybe go back to Aemeath and Rover's house that they lived in and enter through the puddle. We've already seen Aemeath and Rover use that before to enter void space in the story. But now that we know that the void space is seemingly collapsing in on itself, let's say that that entryway for some reason is now closed or can't be used. The last option comes to us from the end of Luke's quest. Luke revealed to us at the end that they believe that the Grand Architect damaged the seal in the woods where the Sternodian seal is, where the Strider Gate is, where the Roya, you know, that whole area where they live, where all the Solace skins are. They believe that the seal was damaged by the Grand Architect, and it actually left visible cracks on the seal itself. But maybe through these cracks, Chisa is able to just slice us through without needing to undo the entire seal on the Sternodian, allowing us to get through. Kind of stretching, but at the same time, I think that makes sense. In my opinion, that makes sense with the way they describe Chisa's forte, that you should be able to just slip us through the cracks that are already there rather than needing to undo the seal completely. So this whole theory does rely on Chisa doing a lot of the heavy lifting, you know? But she's the star of this theory. But there is one thing that Chisa, I don't believe, is going to be able to do at all. At least not from what they've shown us so far. And that is, how do we protect ourselves from the frequency drain of being in void space? Right now, Aemeath is the only resonator that we know of that is able to be in void space without having themselves be drained of their frequency and basically dying. So far, I don't think they've given us the answers to that. I went through most of the story quest again and I didn't see anything that screamed out to me. There is something here, but I feel like it's stretching it a little bit, and that is Lene. Lene is very powerful. Lene has shown that she's able to form protective barriers with the shield that she put up when the Void Worm attacked the Academy. She put up that shield to kind of just hold them off for a little bit until we could distract them and lead them away from the Academy. So she's able to make shields. And when Havacia went out of control due to the Void Storm grenade that the Grand Architect left behind, there was that one little scene where, you know, where Lene picked it up and was kind of just holding it up, and you can see that she had her Forte ability over it. You know, it had the light green like look over it, and Havacia just wasn't reacting for a little bit until Rover showed up, and then it finally went on the offense. So I'm wondering if Lene is able to kind of, you know, contain or like subdue Void Storm, or just the Void Storm effect. So if she's able to do that, maybe she's able to like shield us while we're in void space for a limited amount of time. I don't know. I feel like I'm stretching it by going there, but she could be the answer. And if she is the answer, that could set up the whole finale in a way that kind of divides the characters in certain groups. So for this part of the theory, I haven't gone too much into it because a lot of it could be changed depending on what happens in 3.2, which we'll be releasing later tonight at the release of this video. So I don't know what happens in 3.2. Maybe 3.2 could end up completely bombing this theory, or could end up reinforcing my theory. But let's go ahead and skip ahead to 3.3, or whatever the finale, 3.4, 3.5, 3.6, whatever the finale for this whole Laha Roy story will be. And if, let's say, it stays true to my theory, this is what I meant by Lene being able to help us by shielding us from the Void Storm, that we could end up dividing into groups. So we have the student group of Rover, Chisa, Lene, maybe Sigrika, heading into void space to save Aemeath. Meanwhile, the professors or teachers group, Luke, Morne, Lucilia, Hayuki maybe, stay back to protect the Stratergate seal, because the Fractionists showed up and are using the Void Storm grenades to try to fully finish the job that the GA started and completely destroy the seal from where they cracked it. So that could be an interesting thing they do. You know, the students are trying to save Aemeath, the teachers are staying back and protecting the students. It's an interesting dynamic, and it's a little bit different than just having everyone all at once in one area like in Renacita. So it's still a group up, but now the group is separated and we each got our own task. How Sigrika, Danae, or Hayuki fit into this, I don't know, because we don't know much about them yet. Like I said earlier, 3.2 is releasing later tonight, but I don't have that information yet available to me on how that could possibly change, and that's where it seems like all three of them are going to be introduced. We know Sigrika for sure because she's the banner character, and then from the 3.2 live stream, or 3.2 live stream, we know that Hayuki and Danae are going to show up in the story quest, so we'll have to wait and see what they end up doing. But maybe instead of being with either the students or the teacher group, they'll have to do something with the Helotic 6, or Helotic 6, because I believe that they're going to somehow factor into this somehow, because I'm still very suspicious about the fact that Shaper is now the only one in charge of them. Because it's no longer a 6, it's just the 1, because the other 5 fell due to corruption. So that was the whole thing with Morne, the first half of Morne's quest. It feels weird to me that if they have no involvement at the end, so maybe Hayuki, Sigrika, and Danae will be there. Maybe GA will try to take control of the Heliogyre, and they'll have to stop him. They'll be the ones to confront him, while the rest of the Fractionists is trying to break the seal, and the student group that I mentioned, Rover, Chisa, Lene, are still trying to save Aemeath. These three will be here trying to stop GA from killing Shaper, or maybe Shaper does get killed, and now Sigrika has to take control of the Heliogyre to keep it operational for the future, because she was mentioned to be a candidate for the Helotic 6 when they still existed, because now, as far as I'm concerned, they are just the one. It's just Shaper, due to the other 5 being dead. They haven't been replaced yet, as far as I know. I haven't seen anything that mentioned them being replaced. So maybe that's where those 3 will end up taking place. Something has to happen with them. I find it really weird if they end up only being a part of Morne's quest and not the end of the finale. We'll have to wait and see, but regardless, we'll have to wait. We'll see very soon. Maybe they'll get mentioned in 3.2. I would assume they would, because Sigirica is a part of the royal tribe, and that's their whole thing. We'll have to wait and see. The update arrives 12 hours from now at the time of this recording, but we'll see if my theory gets more reinforced from the events of 3.2 or gets completely disproven. Regardless, let me know your guys' thoughts on this small little theory I came up with Chisa. I know it's not super complicated or anything, but I really do believe she is the key to saving Aemeath. Let me know what you guys think. Let me know if I got anything wrong. I did go back and look. I even timestamped this stuff for myself from the because I went ahead and recorded the old story quests, so I can always go back and look through them. So maybe I missed something when I was skimming through them, but let me know what you guys think, and I will see you all next time for, I guess, when we update this. Yeah. Anyways, thank you all for watching.